Do as I command or I will kill you, is an act of a tyrant government. This is how the definition of a tyrant government developed. Here are two examples.
Example 1, Ruby Ridge 1992.
No electricity, no running water, no indoor plumbing. We're talking about a cabin made by Randy Weaver and his wife on a mountaintop. They thought that they were living on the edge of Armageddon. And this was the sort of sanctuary that Randy and Vicki Weaver wanted.
A federal judge wanted Randy Weaver to come to court. Randy refused to go. A warrant was issued for Randy's arrest. The following is a discussion on how to arrest Randy.
How can we affect the arrest of this man? Some people, I later found out, were actually advocating a front-on tactical assault. To go up there with armored personnel carriers and, whatever kind of armament they needed and just shoot it out with him.
The wife and son of Randy Weaver, Victoria, and Samuel Weaver, were shot and killed by law enforcement. Mr. Ballin explains.
A firefight ensued that left Sammy, Randy's son, dead, along with their dog dead, and one of the marshals, William Deegan, was killed as well. Randy, Kevin Harris, and Randy's teenage daughter, Sarah, decided to leave their cabin and go down to Sammy to pay their respects. After they left the cabin, they walked a little ways away, and then snipers opened up on them. In that initial volley of fire, only Randy got hit in the shoulder, and so Randy, Kevin, and Sarah, they turn, they start running back towards the cabin to take cover, and standing in the doorway of the cabin, inside the cabin, is Vicki, Randy's wife, and she's standing there holding their 10-month-old daughter. And so Randy makes it inside, Sarah makes it in the front door, Kevin is the last one to go through the door, and right as he's going through the doorway, the sniper had his sights set on Kevin, and he fired, he missed Kevin, the round went through the door, and it hit Vicki squarely in the head, and it killed her instantly. In the end, despite having a plethora of charges against him, jurors decided that Randy Weaver was only guilty of not showing up to that court date. Amid intense federal scrutiny of the Ruby Ridge scandal, the FBI's number 2 person was demoted, 3 other agents were suspended, and 1 was sent to jail for trying to cover up the mistakes the FBI had made during this case.
Example 2, Waco, Texas.
On the morning of February 28th, minutes before setting out on the raid, the ATF learned from an undercover agent that Koresh knew they were coming. They didn't turn back. Both sides say the other shot first. After an hour of intense shooting, the ATF ran out of ammunition. Koresh had taken a bullet in his side. With around 80 people still inside Mount Carmel, the FBI decided to force an end to the siege by driving everybody out with military-grade tear gas. On April 19th, on the 51st day of the siege, the tear gassing began.
This is not an assault. We are not entering the building.
After 6 hours of intense tear gassing, smoke was spotted in a second-story window. Within minutes, the whole building was ablaze. 75 people died that day at Mount Carmel. 5 children and 12 adults, including David Koresh.
Oklahoma City Courthouse, April 19, 1995. Patriots respond to government's use of deadly force.
2 years after Waco, a young Gulf War veteran set off a bomb at a federal office building in Oklahoma City.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
Just as Waco set off the militia movement in general, it also set off a set of ideas in the mind of one particular man, Timothy McVeigh.
McVeigh, who wasn't a member of a militia, but was inspired by the rhetoric, timed the attack to coincide with the 2nd anniversary of the fire at Waco.
Tim McVeigh actually went to Waco.
The man in the background, sitting on the car, is Tim McVeigh.
McVeigh murdered 168 people, including 19 small children, as a direct retaliatory attack on the government for Waco.
On Bundy Ranch, Nevada in 2014, law enforcement acknowledged, "Do as I command, or I will kill you." Show of force is not the primary objective and left the scene.
This is a Fox News alert. Tensions are flaring in the standoff between Nevada rancher Cliven Bundy and the federal government.
In 2014, protesters tried to block the Bureau of Land Management from executing a warrant to seize the herd of rancher Cliven Bundy, who for 20 years had refused to pay to graze his cattle on public lands. When amateur video of the confrontation went viral, reaction was swift.
Self-described patriots and hundreds of armed militia members began streaming into Bunkerville, Nevada.
I'll be honest, we saw what happened at Waco.
Patriots objecting to government's use of deadly force.
We didn't have to agree with the Bundys, but we had to be there to be between them and the predatory federal government that seemed intent on doing to them what it did to the Davidians.
No gun pointing.
With an armed crowd bearing down, law enforcement made a tactical decision to withdraw, allowing Bundy to take back his herd.
They did the right thing. They didn't try to enforce their will upon another set of Davidians.
The bottom line about the Bundy standoff is that a large number of people in the militia movement pointed scoped semi-automatic weapons at the heads of law enforcement officials and ultimately forced them to back down. It made people feel that you could win against the federal government, and you needed to do it with a gun.
Important note: Clive Bundy was arrested peacefully at Portland International Airport on February 10, 2016, because the arrest was unannounced.